Hey, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, we're having a wonderful Thursday out there. Got an update here for you on what we're seeing out there, and a couple big things to note. Obviously, Francine moved inland overnight and is continuing to bring impacts this afternoon. But other than that, we do have the potential of another tropical system developing right off the southeast coastline, and that could bring impacts really as soon as the next 5 days or so. And behind that, more areas in the central Atlantic, including now Tropical Depression 7, potentially soon to be Tropical Storm Gordon, and maybe even Hurricane Gordon on down the road. So I got the latest for you on all of that. Also, we've got some other storm systems working on through the country to talk about, and just that overall pattern over the next 7 days or so. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely do so. Like the video if you like it, and comment. Let me know where you're watching from and kind of what you're seeing out there. Personally, here in Charlotte, it's still relatively dry, but definitely that cloud cover from Francine and that frontal boundary that's lifting northward definitely is influencing our weather here. So again, just let me know what you're seeing out there. With that said, though, let's go ahead and jump on into that forecast because, again, do have a good bit to discuss here on this Thursday as things have really picked up over the past week or so. All right, starting off with satellite imagery here, and again, nothing is probably jumping out to you as a super big deal, but I'll go ahead and circle a couple. This is Tropical Depression 7, again, likely to become Tropical Storm Gordon. This is what's left of Francine. I know, kind of a shell of its former self, but that's Francine. And then this kind of just big area of thunderstorm activity is just a stalled out front that we've had hanging around for a while, and that could lead to tropical development here over the next 5 to 7 days. So we're going to break that down for you in today's video. And again, if we take a look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center here, again, the map does look pretty active, and all things considered it is, but it is peak hurricane season right now, basically to the day. So you would expect a fuller map than normal. Again, Francine has continued to weaken a little bit here this morning, back down to about 45 mile an hour tropical storm, continuing to work inland. Tropical Depression 7 again has developed and will likely become Tropical Storm Gordon and probably Hurricane Gordon at some point. If it can get its act together over the next week. These two little areas down here that are kind of clumped up right next to each other, not super concerned about those. Both of those only running about a 10% chance of development over the next 7 days. But what I would consider is the bigger concern is this big kind of yellow blob right off the Carolina coastline. This is a new area to watch that we had pop up kind of yesterday, excuse me, or the evening before, and we're up to a 30% chance of development with this within the next 7 days. And again, I think at the very least, this is going to bring rainfall impacts to the Carolinas in the mid-Atlantic, maybe even some wind and some light surge impacts, depending on if it can develop and how strong it gets. But no matter what, that is going to influence our weather. So we're going to definitely spend some time talking about that. But before we do, let's go ahead and break down what's left of Francine for today and tomorrow, and then we'll get to the rest of those tropical systems, and then talk about kind of some other more mid-latitude cyclone like storms that are working across the country through the next week. So again, Francine right now bringing plenty of rain, plenty of wind as well, depending on where you're at. Also bringing a severe weather threat. So again, this big shield of rain stretching from kind of Little Rock all the way back through Memphis, all of Mississippi, Alabama, and back through even Georgia, and then down into the Florida peninsula as well. So again, a big area of precipitation being brought inland with this storm system. So it's obviously going to rain with this. Also, winds will be gusty. But what I want you to really know is this kind of section right here of the storm. This is where we're going to have the highest severe weather threat today as well as tomorrow, right there on that western side. And you can already see some of these kind of curly looking showers and storms rolling in off the Gulf and into this area of Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. Again, I do think we'll have a tornado threat and potentially a localized tornado outbreak over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. All right, now latest watches, warnings, and advised with Francine. There you go. Just got the 8 a.m. update right on the dot there, so perfect. So again, kind of back down to more of a post-tropical storm at this point. We are still seeing winds gusting up near tropical storm strength, and because of that, we do have tropical storm warnings in effect here still for southern Mississippi and kind of surrounding areas there. But all the beige colors you see, those are wind advisories. So again, at the point that you're seeing those gusty winds, probably not as much of a tropical system, but the winds are still high. And I'll even note, back here towards the North Carolina mountains, kind of the downslope sides towards the Tennessee side, also have these wind advisories. And when we take a look at the wind map, you'll see why. Again, could get quite gusty there as we're getting some of this kind of downslope flow on the backside of the mountains here. So again, even places outside of the center of the storm seeing impacts. Now, also, flood watches are up, tornado watches up for portions of Alabama and Florida. But by the time you're watching this, some of these are going to change a little bit. But just know, again, still an active scene here in the southeast. Outside of that, on our map, assuming it will load. There we go. I was going to say, I know there's more going on. Out west, we do have a red flag threat this afternoon for much of the Rockies and the northern Great Plains. Also, winter weather advisories up for the mountains of Montana and Idaho. Again, getting to that time of the year, these higher elevations starting to really pick up on some decent snowfall totals. Again, this is only a precursor for what's to come here over the next couple of months. As we move towards winter. So that's kind of the latest watches, warnings, and advisories out there. Let's go ahead and dive into these threats with Francine a little bit more, including, again, that tornado threat I mentioned today. We do have a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather driven by that tornado threat. So again, anywhere in this colored area on your map is going to have the highest chance of a tornado today, specifically the Florida Panhandle and southern Alabama, but even up through northern Alabama, western Georgia could see a couple tornadoes this afternoon, even through portions of eastern Mississippi, specifically northeastern Mississippi and south central let me see here. Tennessee, sorry. I'm having trouble thinking of the state name there, which I do quite often. But anyway, that's today. Tomorrow, we're going to do it again, although less of a threat tomorrow, probably not quite as high as today, but Friday will run that threat here up through northern Alabama, southern Tennessee, again, and then through western Georgia. So similar areas as today, just shifted northward slightly. So could kind of be a 1-2 punch here in the tornado department. We'll absolutely want to watch out for that and keep an eye on that potential. All right, let's time things out for you here a little bit with our latest high-resolution rapid refresh model and move this ahead. This is about what we're seeing, generally right now-ish through the late morning hours today. Again, obviously, a big shield of rain here on the northern side of the system is going to bring a flooding threat, but that tornado threat here going to be, again, on the eastern side of the system, or that right-hand side of the low pressure, again, is where we're going to have the highest tornado threat. So we move this through this afternoon. Heavy rains continue. The center of the storm works through northern Mississippi. Rain picking up in Memphis, Little Rock, Nashville. During this afternoon, notice, again, what happens here back towards Alabama. We get a lot of dry air to kind of intrude into the storm, and that's good news for the rainfall total department. Again, that'll limit how much rain we're going to see, but that's really going to increase our instability values. And with plenty of vorticity here at the lowest levels of the atmosphere, definitely, again, going to increase that tornado threat here through those areas we talked about. So you gotta be on your guard, even if you're down here into southern Georgia and the Florida Panhandle that wasn't necessarily in that threat. Don't completely let your guard down. It's not impossible if one of these storms can tap into enough instability and spin that we could see a tornado even outside of that tornado threat a little bit. So again, that threat continues this afternoon and evening. We're even going to see some scattered showers and storms working through the Carolinas by the time we get overnight tonight and into our Friday. And then we're waking up Friday morning. And again, at this point, Francine is kind of a shell of herself, really just kind of a mess on radar, but could continue that tornado threat Friday afternoon again with just enough spin and instability left over here through Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, and Mississippi. Now, at the same time, these isobars back towards the Carolinas are going to start to favor winds coming onshore, and that could really increase our rainfall chances here through really all the Carolinas, I think, through our Friday, probably specifically at the coastal regions, I would say. The good news is I don't think it's going to be a washout per se for anybody Friday, but we're definitely going to be dodging some rain. So those Friday night football games, you're going to have a tough shot there of getting those in really anywhere in the southeast, from Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, through the Carolinas, Florida as well, here through our Friday afternoon and evening. You'll notice just these rounds of scattered showers and storms continue to work on through. And then this gets us into the very early morning hours of Saturday. So a theme that's going to continue through the next couple of days is that rainfall threat. Now we take a look at the wind threat, again, dying down a little bit now, and we'll move this to about where we're at now. Again, you'll notice wind gusts, and again, these are not sustained. These are about the highest the winds are gusting to, only up near 50 miles an hour in isolated spots, but probably more like 40 in all honesty, or probably the higher wind gusts that we're going to see this afternoon. So again, if you're watching from northern Mississippi, Alabama, it's going to be gusty, and this is enough wind to definitely take down some trees. And then obviously that tornado threat would be a concern as well for power outages. But the good news is I think the wind dies down slowly throughout the day today. And then we get into our Friday afternoon and you'll notice those winds really begin to calm down a little bit. However, if we move the map north a little bit and we take a look, actually, let me go back one, sorry. Take a look at the Carolinas here, though, on Friday. I will note, again, those isobars kind of tightening a little bit, increasing that pressure gradient, and thus the wind speeds are going to increase again with some rather, I don't want to say strong, but some noticeable onshore winds here. Could be gusting up near 30 at times here through portions of the Sandhills for our Friday afternoon, and even there towards the PD. Again, some of those gustier winds working on through. So not tropical storm force winds by any means, but definitely a gusty Friday in store as those showers work on through. Now we bring this map north, and one place I really want you to watch again is the mountains here of Tennessee, specifically these downslope areas. Again, we're going to get very strong winds to kind of hit the mountains here and then fly back down the other side of the mountain towards Tennessee, and that's definitely going to bring some rather strong not onshore flow, but downsloping flow rather. So you'll see that kind of unfold here. This is this afternoon. Again, gusty winds trying to move up through the Mississippi River Valley. Through northern Arkansas, through the Ozarks potentially, specifically the southwestern Ozarks. Western Tennessee could see some gusty winds, but overall dying down during the evening. But again, notice this evening and let me start this evening actually. This is tonight, about the time the sun is going down. Some of these wind speeds up near the mountains in North Carolina and Tennessee, again, getting up near 30, 40, maybe even 50 miles an hour for wind gusts is going to be more than enough to, make it noticeable out there for sure. And then we'll do it again on Friday afternoon. Again, I think the winds calm down for most of us, probably a little bit stronger in the Carolinas on Friday. One in the actual Carolinas and two in the mountains as well. Again, Friday afternoon, you'll notice as we get some of that mixing of the air, really increasing these wind speeds here. Again, potentially maybe even stronger tomorrow, gusting up near 60 miles an hour at times. As we get some of that favorable wind pattern and wind field. So that's the latest there on the wind threat. Flooding, again, just want to show you the excessive rainfall outlook. Again, obviously we're going to see a lot of rain. But today we do have a moderate risk of flash flooding through portions of northern Alabama, specifically right over the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa area there, and even up towards Huntsville. Could see, again, more than enough rain to cause some flooding concerns, but really anybody in that region needs to be on guard, especially if you're under a flash flood watch or a flood watch. Definitely be on guard for that potential of some excessive rainfall. All right, that is the latest on Francine, and probably likely don't have too much more to talk about that here in the coming days. However, again, that's not the end of the story here in the southeast, because we do have that area to watch off the Carolina coast that, again, could try to develop. And again, even if this area does not develop, I expect impacts to the weather here through the southeast, specifically Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Here as we go into early next week. So this is the latest GFS model. We'll just kind of move this ahead into time a little bit. And notice what happens. Obviously, scattered showers continue. This is even Saturday afternoon. Again, Francine kind of here-ish, or whatever's left of it. And it's kind of bringing that frontal boundary that was parked over Florida northward up through the Carolinas. So, all that rain that Florida's been getting is now going to move northward. Unfortunately, again, it's not great timing right here during the weekend. But again, I don't think it'll be a washout during this weekend for anybody, but we will have plenty of scattered showers that roll on through here, and maybe even some storms here that could possibly fire up as well. Now, we get this into Saturday, Sunday afternoon, and into Monday, and watch what happens. Eventually, an area of low pressure forms here off the coast of the Carolinas, tries to deepen as a tropical storm or a subtropical storm, again, kind of a hybrid system here, really, and then moves up into the Carolinas and Virginia by next Tuesday afternoon as probably, again, a subtropical storm, I would say, at least on this model output, and brings plenty of rain, some gusty winds, and probably even a bit of a severe weather threat as well. And that gets us all the way through the middle of next week, and then finally we clear on out. Now, that's just one model. That was the GFS. The European is similar. Again, through this weekend, it looks very similar. However, never really develops this low pressure system. This is next Monday. You'll notice we're still just dealing with kind of this big frontal boundary that's parked right through the Carolinas, bringing a lot of rain. However, not really tropical impacts, at least in terms of wind or storm surge or anything like that. And again, it's just a very rainy start to next week and a very very rainy weekend and very rainy start to next week. And kind of just stays that way through next week as that frontal boundary kind of just meanders a little bit. So slightly different on the European model, but you get the idea. Nonetheless, a good amount of rain on the way for a lot of folks. Now, we take a look at some ensembles here. We take a look at the Europeans. First off, you'll notice, obviously not very excited about the idea of this developing. Again, development or not, rain will happen. But, if in terms of, winds and the potential of higher severe weather and maybe even a little bit of coastal flooding, you would, need development for those threats to kind of form here. But again, the European, not very excited about the idea of it, which is obviously a good thing. The GFS and its ensemble members, Definitely more noise on this map, but still not very concentrated on a specific idea. So it's going to be one of those things we'll just have to watch and see, and kind of watch that area of the Atlantic, see if the pressure field kind of deepens a little bit, see if there's some vorticity that tries to get going there at the surface. But definitely, nonetheless, a rainy outlook with that one here for portions of the southeast. And just to show it to you, again, this is rain through the next 10 days or so. We've got some totals here in coastal North Carolina and South Carolina that could be approaching half a foot to a foot of rain. So more than enough to definitely damper the mood there and probably even cause some flooding concerns. Again, still probably recovering from the Debbie flooding. So this on top of it obviously wouldn't help. But we'll again continue to fine tune these numbers. But you get further north up towards the Delmarva, pretty good amount of rain as well. Back towards the western Carolina, some pretty good rainfall with some upslope flow kind of helping. If anybody gets the least amount of rain into Virginia and the Carolinas, I would say probably from Greensboro northbound here through Blacksburg and through Western Virginia in general is probably going to be the driest during this time period. But again, I think everybody gets in on some form of rain. All right, well, what else is going on out there? Well, yeah, there's more out into the Atlantic. Again, it's a bit of a never-ending story here. But we do have Tropical Depression 7 this morning that developed yesterday, actually, but it's now, or not now, it's just the first time I'm talking about it to you, I guess. But has formed again, and it's just kind of out here in the middle of the Atlantic, not doing anything too crazy, which is obviously a good thing, but you'll definitely know, you can kind of see the kind of cinnamon bun look to this thing. So just, you get the idea that it's definitely a cyclone that is spinning cyclonically, funnily enough, right? So the latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center throughout the next 7 days doesn't do much with this, keeps it about steady strength-wise, gets it up near mid-grade tropical storm, and then just kind of slowly meanders us out through the waters of the Atlantic, not really impacting anybody. If we take a look at the ensembles agree. Latest European ensembles, the ones that do develop this curve it out quite quickly, and really all of them curve it. And again, some get this into a pretty strong storm, many into a hurricane, but overall track-wise looks pretty good for really no human impacts, which is something that we will hope for and continue to watch. All right, let's take a look now at what's going on back home and kind of what's on the horizon here through the next week or so. Taking a look at satellite imagery, again, big story, obviously. Here's Francine. Here's that stalled out frontal boundary. But at the same time, we do have a pretty big trough dipping through the Pacific Northwest, and that has led to some cyclogenesis here over portions of Idaho and Montana, which could bring some severe weather this afternoon. So we'll definitely talk about that before eventually that pulls up into Canada. So again, that's really just kind of the main things to look at on satellite right now. Outside of there, we do have just a kind of a big ridge over the east that this tropical system has found itself caught under. But again, that's kind of the main synoptic features. All right, radar imagery, obviously we talked about Francine, but we do also have some showers up into the Pacific, or not really the Pacific Northwest, more the northern Rockies at this point, again through Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, and even into the Dakotas, seeing some rain showers here on this Thursday. And again, this will probably lead to some severe weather this afternoon, including a small tornado threat. So again, definitely need to keep an eye to the sky up that way. But yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing on radar. All right, just to kind of show you again, what does this look like currently on our 500 height millibar or 500 millibar height anomaly map, rather, sorry. So again, like I talked about, we do have this big trough kind of working through the Pacific Northwest currently, and that is bringing some cooler air. Also has led to, again, low pressure forming at the surface here, which is going to eventually track up into Canada. At the same time, we've got a big ridge building over portions, or I say building, it already has built. A big ridge, though, let me kind of redraw this as well. It's kind of more like this, over portions of the northern United States and into eastern Canada. So things are really warming up there through Canada, the northern half of our country, again, specifically the Midwest and the Northeast, not so much the Pacific Northwest. But again, just going to help to warm things up. Also, what it's going to help to do is kind of trap Debbie here a little, or not Debbie, sorry. Wow, I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. Trap Francine here under this ridge. So again, that's kind of why it just meanders out here for a little while and kind of just dies off, is this big ridge is kind of blocking it from being able to get on out of here. All right, so let's take a look at the east here through the next 48 hours. Again, we talked about Francine and all the rain that's going to bring. We'll just go ahead and skip to Friday because everywhere else is going to be a pretty dry day here. But we get through our Friday afternoon. Again, some scattered showers could get into the Ohio River Valley and obviously the entire southeast dealing with scattered showers tomorrow due to Francine. But the Northeast, again, it's been nice. It's going to stay nice. We get this all the way into the overnight of Friday. And you'll note, Again, some shower activity increasing through the mid-south, even into the deep south, and potentially a couple showers could try to get down through the Midwest here. Less from Francine and more from actually that storm system out into the Rockies is going to just kind of have that tail end that kind of scoops through portions of the north central plains. So again, not much else to talk about on this map, but what I will mention is, again, we do have a severe weather risk today. So a slight risk of severe weather here possible through portions of Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas, which obviously is going to be something we definitely want to watch out for. And we'll take a look at that here now. But again, just noting that all hazards are on the table this afternoon, including an isolated tornado or two up through that region. If we take a look at it here, again, a rainy period through Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming with mountain snow falling as well. That's definitely important to add there. But watch what happens this afternoon here. We do have some low pressure at the surface, and we get a couple of storms here into, again, eastern Montana, rather, that try to get their act together and become quite strong and organized. And again, definitely large hail, straight line winds, and even a tornado is possible. But I think hail, we're going to have some really big hail out of this just due to that cold air aloft. Again, it's snowing in the mountains. So if you got frozen precipitation falling at the surface in the form of hail, it's probably going to be pretty large as well. So that continues through this afternoon. We get through, this or tomorrow morning and into Friday. Still some leftover showers for sure, but the severe weather risk and all that mountain snow should die down by our Friday and our Saturday. All right, what's on the horizon here? So we'll kind of just move this ahead into time through early next week. Obviously, again, the southeast, the stalled out frontal boundary is just holding on for dear life here, and it's going to continue to bring some scattered showers and storms through at least early next week. This big ridge is going to continue to keep things warm through the northeast, midwest, and southern Canada, or at least southeastern Canada specifically. But watch what happens out west. Another big trough. This time, this one digging even further, and eventually even tries to become slightly negatively tilted here as it ejects through the Rockies. So I am concerned about another severe weather risk early next week, including more mountain snow and some valley rain here as that trough works on through. Again, bringing cold air out west, and then another one behind that. Kind of a theme here of multiple troughs dumping out west and then kind of ejecting up through the northern Great Plains. So with that general pattern, that'll keep things chilly out west. It'll keep that mountain snow going, and it will keep a severe weather risk possible here for the Great Plains. Will definitely be something we need to watch. Again, while that's ongoing, this stalled out frontal boundary over the southeast will probably keep rain going, and then it'll probably continue to stay relatively clear and warm through the Midwest and Northeast as that ridge continues to dominate the pattern. So it's kind of what we're looking at over the next 7 days or so, just to show this to you on radar. Again, this is going into this weekend. Obviously still rainy in the southeast, but into early next week, here comes that storm system out west. So this is Monday afternoon. You'll notice it's kind of hard to see, but some mountain snow begins to kick off, some valley rain, also still raining in the southeast, again, due to some cold air damming, also with that frontal boundary, just causing plenty of lift in the region. And we continue this on, and again, a storm system does get going out west about a week from now. Look at this, an impressive storm system. Well, did not mean to take a sounding, but an impressive storm system out here through Montana. 982 millibars. That's definitely impressive, even for September standards here as we get later into fall. So I need to watch that for sure, and I think that'll be a big story. And then again, even 10 days or so out from now, more storms try to cross through the Central Plains, likely bringing some severe weather with them. All right, final map I'll show you is our temperature anomaly map. It's going to stay cool through the southeast just due to this cloud cover and rain. It's going to stay cool out west, and it's going to stay warm everywhere else. Again, I'll just move this map ahead. Obviously, again, another big dumping of cold air early next week out through California, Nevada, Oregon, Idaho. Stays chilly in the southeast due to that cloud cover. And let me rephrase that. When I say chilly, I mean average temperatures to slightly below average, not highs in the 50s by any means, but below average is probably a better word to use compared to chilly. And then again, above average through the northern tier of the country and into Canada. And that pattern just kind of continues here for the long haul. So that's what I got for you here on this Thursday it is. And hopefully you found some use in it. If you did, definitely let me know in the comments. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.